Good morning from Yummy B TV. Wishing you all well. Sending plenty of love your way as usual now. I had to take down a live last night simply and purely because I didn't do what I said I was going to do with the content that I put on the headlines. So I was shattered last night as well. I went to bed early, which has been happening a lot lately because I get up really early, as you witnessed over the last few weeks. So we'll go again on Sunday and mix it all in together because in reality, I never got round to all the so-called good-looking men with the character and all charisma and that kind of stuff, black, white, etc. I just gave you a little sneaky preview into what I mean by the subjects I brought up yesterday morning, and there'll be plenty of laughs on this one when we eventually do it, all right? So sorry about that. I took it down. There wasn't many people in the room asking for what I put on the title, if you get what I mean, but traveling again for the next couple of days. Just so glad to be out and about. I might be dropping in another bomb in the next couple of days, so get ready for that. Now, this morning's part one video, the most fearsome men of all time, right? Now, different from the hardest men. Hardest men we're talking about in a row, straightener. Most of these men I mentioned in this video are not renowned for having world-class fighting abilities, but they find the answers that way as well. Rather unsung kind of geezers, some of them in this video, a couple of them, right? But with weapons and temperament and don't play with me, and feared by a lot of men, like to say, boy, oh, be careful how I talk to him, because when he goes, he can really, really go, and you're going to have to kill him to get rid of him, I'm afraid. But couple of these guys are really cool though as well, and one of them is the bombshell that might be let off on Yummy B TV soon, right? So when we say fearsome, I think unpredictable. You know what I mean? Mind how you talk to me. Don't take the piss out of me. Screws and inmates alike. Leave me, drop me out, and I'll drop you out. If you don't, I'm going to do something very, very, very serious to you, and you might not come back from it. From what I saw in fleeting moments from these guys, right? Sorry to Babylon. So the first man I'm going to talk about was way back in the day. His name was Peter Brown. I believe he was from Leeds, right? I saw a little bit of him around about the 90s on the B-Cat run. I don't know what's happened to him, but kind of cool geezer, very temperamental and didn't play around. I saw two things from this geezer way back in the day when challenged by bigger, so-called bigger names and bigger men in the criminal fraternity, and both times he done the absolute clinical finish that just clears everything up within the first few seconds of a fight, namely by planting a shank straight through into your neck and leaving it in there and walking off. Yeah, so that's saying too much there. Don't know many of you who met Peter Brown, but I think you're going to say the same thing as me, mate. Don't play, and the staff screws as well. When they used to come for him, you're getting a full war, and it's not like he's physically looking supreme, but he could do everything that those so-called super fit men, strong men, and alleged great fighters can do, just on heart and ability and willpower and determination on its own, right? So that's number one. Second one, right? David Bowman from Coventry, right? Fleeting moments with him as well. Staff will testify to this as well. Leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. If you play with me, you're out of the game now. Can't say too much. Maybe one day he might sit round the table and explain why, he's probably normal bod now and doing straight things in life. But a very, very interesting character who was rated highly by all the big names. There's meant to be 3 or 4 big name belts under his trophy cabinet. To be honest, all of it finished quickly. To be honest, you know what I mean? So I might, when I do eventually see him, I might let him tell you about it. Of course, he might not want to talk about it. But a man, when the screws would come for him as well, not physically looking supreme, Not known to be one of the greatest fighters that ever lived, but with his hands as well, really, really quick and determined and getting the job done. Heart and will sometimes win. Who dares win? Who dares wins? You know what I mean? If you want to, you will. Nothing can really stop you if you want to do what your mind tells you it wants to do. You picture it, you believe it. I'm walking over there and I'm just going to go and do that. Yeah? Anything can be done. It's all in there, and it's all in there. I saw it from too many unsung people all my life in those cat A's, mate. That a proper cool geezer as well, Dave Bum. I wish I would have had more time with him. But yeah, that's number 2, and he's from Coventry. Now, I never spoke about this geezer, right? I spent a little bit of time with him in a couple of locals, but I heard a lot about him. His name was John Onslow from Birmingham, I believe, right? He escaped, I think it was from Whitemore. I think he was involved in that thing there. But the personnel and the way that everybody talks about him is one of the most feared men that ever walked the system, and really highly intelligent with a massive IQ, but physically as well. Don't play with me, right? I think he had physical attributes as well, to be honest, with his fitness and that kind of stuff, but really determined as well. I think he was in for drugs or something like that, John. So again, I didn't have a lot of time with him. I'm going a lot by what I was told throughout the system. And when I set my eyes on him and had 2 conversations with him, I'm telling you, I knew straight away what it was. He looks kind of cool as well, and he talks kind of cool. You know what I mean? You wouldn't believe all the stories you hear about him. John Onslow, I forgot to mention his name a few times, you know. But never said him. I don't know where he is now today as well. But Uncle Yummy puts him quite high up there for all things, if you get what I mean. So that's 3. Of course, we can't mention the fearsome name, fearsome names, without talking Slayney. Now, Warren Slayney is in my hardest men of all time, right? A bit smaller than everybody else, but the last of the Mohicans. Goes marching on, you know, sits at the table in his shorts and that kind of stuff, and things sets off really quickly. It looks like he walks a bit like Clint Eastwood coming out for the final stand. It's on very, very quickly, and he has battled with the screws for his whole life in there, with no retreat and no surrender with Warren Slayney. It is what it says on the jar lid, feared by everyone. Yeah? They talk about Bronson, Paul Sykes, and all. They got edgy around him, Slayney. Feeling funny and that. But I could say some other things. I don't do it on Yummy B TV. But Warren doesn't take a backward step from anyone and puts in the final word. And so many men have just turned their back on it when he says it. Those are the facts. So that's 4. We know enough about Warren Slayney on my TV channel, right? So 5th one. We got to say intimidating presence and aura, because this is what we mean by fear. When you're in their presence, you know that you're on your toes a little bit. You know what I mean? A couple of them are cooler. You know that they won't. You could say certain things to a couple of these men that I've just spoke about, but to a couple of others, if you talk in the same way to them, it's liable to go off, mate. But a couple that I've mentioned, we'll see between it. You know, Onslow, Bowman, they're more like, oh yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah, but a couple of others on here won't be. Builder Bomb is one of them. Warren Slayney is one of them. I'm being totally honest. Builder Bomb, everybody feared him. He had the front door keys with the screws. Walk on any wing you ever wanted. Open that door. Walk straight through, down the block. Many rounds with the screws in the early days and in the end. McVicker told you the other day one story. There are many stories like that. Phil Curry told you a story that when he lets off the screws, turn away. Never seen nothing in my life. Turn away. They'll go in on Slayney, because Slayney will make the move on them, but Bill will walk through and do as he wants, and they won't want to know. Absolute fact. I've never seen it from anyone else do it the way that he did it. Builder Bomb, rest in peace. So he's got to be one of the most feared. And as he turns up, everybody's apprehensive and starts fiddling. Same with Slayney. That's exactly what we mean by fear. That's 5. Who's number 6? We've got to put the great Shane Taylor in. when I first met Shane, the hurt in his eyes, and he kept marching forward for the whole of that sentence. Inmates, staff are like, well respected by inmates as well, Shane Taylor. A little bit of mental health, but you know, he's with God now, Shane, and his mental health is much, much better, away from those hostile environments where the pressure was just on him day and night, and he kept fighting back to a system that really, in the end, wears you down. But hold on, you didn't wear Shane Taylor down. So that's 6 for you on my part one, because that's 10 minutes gone now. But in my opinion, the greatest and the most feared man of all time for all eras, with no retreat, no surrender up till the present day, Uncle Yami categorically tells you from the heart, the most feared man to have ever walked through the Cat A system was Warren Slayney. Coming up in a minute, I might do a video on the train. Loads of love.